Okay, anytime. Hey, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to the Fairmede Hilltop Neighborhood Council meeting. Today is Thursday, May 25th, 2023. It's 7 p.m. Tonight's guests are Contra College, Kimberly Rogers, PhD, soon-to-be new president. We have a beat officer. We actually had AC Transit was going to come up, but they had another meeting, so unfortunately they won't make it tonight. But before we get started, I wanted to mention that we did have a nice career fair last Saturday. I want to thank all the employers and potential employees that came by. We will be having a national night out, and we've been discussing Costco, bringing up a Costco to Hilltop Mall, and so, yeah, exciting stuff.
I've been wanting.
Good. So, if you get a chance, go to YouTube, Fairmede Hilltop Neighborhood Council page, or to Don Gosney, who's actually recording this meeting tonight. So this meeting will be posted there. So in the meantime, I think we have Officer Cook here with our crime stats. Who's working a tremendous amount of hours, by the way.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi there, Officer Church here, Richmond PD. So I have numbers here for the past 90 days is what I had asked for. And our incident reports in the past 90 days are 65, which is a 26% decrease. And the calls for service were 669 in your neighborhood, and that's a 13% decrease. So just to, if that gives you an idea, almost 700 calls for service in 90 days. And that's just your neighborhood here at Fairmede. Our top 10 incident reports are vandalisms, 10, thefts, 9, burglaries, 5, vehicle thefts, 5, contempt of court, 4, mental illness, 4, battery, 4, auto burglary, 3, domestic violence, 3, and a hit and runs, 2. So those are the types of reports that we're having. Our top 10 calls for service are your alarms, 40 of them, regular disturbances, 39, security checks, 31, and traffic stops, 26, unwanted persons, 25, welfare checks, 25, motor vehicle thefts, 24, mental patients, 17, suspicious vehicles, 16, and music calls, 16. And our apartment complex is there. If we're looking at location-wise, 173 calls for service there on our at our apartment complexes, Aberdeen and Lancaster, and then a couple of residences, but nothing with more than 10 calls for service. So that's what we're looking at as far as your police deployment here, just in your neighborhood in the past 90 days. And any questions specific to the calls for service?
The city council meeting just a couple of nights ago, they reported citywide on auto thefts, and the numbers were shockingly high because they broke it down by district, but they were high triple digits. And you're saying over the past 90 days that this neighborhood council has only had 5. Is it that you're doing such a great job of protecting our vehicles, or we just aren't, or is it that our vehicles aren't worth stealing?
You're not going to get me to make a value judgment like that.
Okay.
But actually, it looks like the calls that came in were 24 for motor vehicle theft, so that includes recoveries and new reports and things.
That's still a far cry from the high triple digits.
Yes. Now, was that citywide?
No, each district.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, high triple digits.
Okay.
And, I
And
mean,
was that a 90-day time period?
I'd have to go back and look at the tape. I thought it was actually just the past month or so. That's why
That seems, I think that number seems to me like it would be citywide for a month.
no,
Is that right?
yeah, Chief French broke it down by district,
Okay.
stating the numbers. And we're all looking at each other like, dang.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, honestly, motor vehicle theft, it's, just to give you a little insight into cop humor, we refer to that as a Contra Costa misdemeanor. They don't, sorry. Just, I've been a cop here in Contra Costa County for 22 years. We arrest people in stolen cars. We've arrested them taking the car, ignition stripped out, things like that. They end up going on misdemeanor probation for a few years, things like that. And that's honestly fairly common. People don't go to San Quentin and go to state prison for property crimes unless it's ongoing, multiple convictions and things. And that's the way it's been for my whole career, and especially following the, in 2015, downgrading a lot of the property crimes. But it seems like that's what the voters have, the DA is responding, obviously, to the population's concern that, property crimes put people in prison, and that's not seemingly what our population wants here in California, so.
Sometimes people make a lot of noise, and what is the cure for people that bring all that music, loud music? And sometimes we have to call. I had to call
Yeah.
2 or 3 times, but if I didn't have that, and sometimes you guys are slow
Mhm.
to respond,
Yes,
and especially on fire time day, especially on 4th of July,
yep,
New Year's, I get scared. I do not like, that's why I don't go nowhere. I protect my house, because I'm afraid somebody's gonna get their house burned up because of it.
yeah, especially on
Out to my
on days that there's celebrations and things, we are overwhelmed with the noise complaints and disturbances and things like that, and we really have to prioritize, because honestly, on those days, a lot of the disturbances are caused by gunfire, and so we're saving our, a lot of our response is to actual gunfire and not the fireworks and different things like that, and that's where we have to put our resources. In years past, I've been part of, like on 4th of July, they would have task forces, they would have a bunch of extra officers and things, but we haven't been able to do that. We tried to do that for Cinco de Mayo, and we weren't able to staff it up as well as we were able to. It went off pretty well, honestly. There were a number of incidents. It would have been nicer. I heard from many people that worked there that it would have been nicer to have more officers and more coverage,
They need more, yeah.
because they had to call on the other officers from the other parts of the city to come help them out and things, and that took resources, honestly, away from the neighborhoods to go, address some of these issues when we're having celebrations or, large gatherings and disturbances. It's hard for our administration to plan for that when they don't have, the numbers that we need. So I think Art wanted me to address that a little bit, because we talked about it in another neighborhood council meeting that I was in last week. But so the reimagining policing here in the city, my understanding is that they commissioned a outside group to study the police department, the city, and the needs for policing. And they recommended 200 officers. Right now, we have in the low 90s. We're hiring as fast as we can. We're training up. We'll probably train up 20 new officers this year. But we are losing a number to retirements, and
Wow.
there's retirements every year, so there's attrition that way. There's always, this is a very physical job, and there's always medical retirements, even though those are, people try and gut through it, honestly, a lot of times, but we're losing people left and right that way. And it's hard to you know, right now, in order to fully staff our patrol, which is just our initial responses to 911, we've got 5 teams with 9 beats, so we would like to have a minimum of 45 officers, but we only have 39 right now. So we have 6 vacancies each week that have to be filled, and that doesn't count vacations, illnesses, injury leave, training that we have to do. I mean, we've got 30 people in our department. That's a third of our department that is doing a multi-operational training thing today that took them away. So like our team right now, that would usually have 9 beats, there's 4 of us here, and the rest are all on overtime and forced to be here, coming from other, you know, detectives and different things working. And this is a constantly, you know, so the admin is, you know, they're shuffling stuff around as best they can with the numbers that we have. We have the budget to hire these, you know, up to, I believe the city council has authorized up to about 130 or 140. But obviously we haven't been able to get to that number, but it's in the budget. So, you know, whether, for whatever reason, kids these days, it's easy to say, right? But it's, you know, the public service aspect, it's hard in every department, but especially here in Richmond, because we know that this is a busy place to work, and which is the reason that I came here, because I found that I enjoyed that. I was working for the sheriff's office out here on the west end, so the unincorporated areas, and I dig it. You know, the pace of the work, you know, the community here, the community feel, but it's hard to, you know, a 22, 25-year-old person, you know, college grad or, you know, something like that, it's hard to incentivize them through those kind of things and to see the value that I've been able to see through, you know, my 20 years. But hopefully we're getting out there, we're going to a lot of job fairs, we recruit a lot, you know, military, you know, people getting out of the military, Contra College there, you know, we've got a sergeant and an officer that are full-time out there trying to do recruiting, doing background investigations and things, so working as hard as we can to get these officers, get new officers on board. So just letting you know what the reality of the situation is, and it's not a, you know, I'm not here to blame anybody, you know, and some people, you know, on the other meeting, you know, there was a city council person, they're like, what more budget, you know, he's like, we gave them the budget. Yeah, you know, the budget is there, but it's a lot of legwork to get these guys on board, so. And then even when we've hired a new officer, got an officer training in the meet next to me tonight. He's gonna be on training for 6 months, and then he's gonna, honestly, a new cop, and to give you guys my perspective, after 22 years, they need their handheld for the first couple of years, at least. I'm sure you can imagine, you know, we see stuff nationwide, and honestly, you don't see that much here, specifically in California and specifically in Richmond, because we do have good officers that keep an eye on each other and a good family atmosphere in this department. So any assistance that you guys can give, any encouragement to family or friends, you know, have them give us a call. We are hiring like crazy. Go ahead, Art.
Yeah, I'd like to add too that once these officers are trained, there's no guarantee that they're going to stick around. You know.
That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, we have. Once they get off of after their training and a year on the street, they get what's called their basics. You get what is your basics post certificate, and you can take that to any department in California. With 1 year of experience here in Richmond, any department in California would love to have an officer that's been in Richmond for a year. So you are a commodity. And a lot of people, you know, they use that to, you know, for what the value, you know, they have to look out for their own families and things.
Yeah.
You know, I can't say anything bad about that, but it's just the reality of it. Go ahead.
Okay, how is the psychology with the office? Because sometimes they got to get through a lot. And sometimes some of them commit suicide. And some of them are going through a lot. I have a friend who have sons that are officers. And you know, as a mother, it's very, 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 you know,
Yeah.
worrying as
So-
a family member. How you handle that?
Yeah, so that's one thing that here in Richmond especially, you know, with the amount of hours that you're working, it's easy to get tired, physically tired, and then I'm sure everybody knows when you're physically tired, you can get mentally and, you know, psychologically, emotionally, and I think, you know, at this point in my career, I can identify that on, you know, in myself and in others, and I'm part of our peer support group here in our department, which is important, to be looking out for each other. But honestly, it's a lot of it comes down to how you internalize this stuff for yourself. And while we know that our job is important, you have to have life outside, you know, and we really encourage that also, because even though I'm usually here 70 or 80 hours a week, I make sure that I have, you know, my things that are most important, you know, my priorities at home. You know, I do family and church, and then, you know, kids sports and things, and I always try and make a point of that. And those are the things that we discuss with each other, and that we find ways to, you know, if somebody's got a game, you'll work that shift for them. And so we're aware, you know, the stats that have been in years past, that upon retirement, when I started in 2001, the stat was upon retirement, cops live average of 5 years, you know. We've hopefully changed that. We've been addressing it, and it's part of the leadership nationwide. We have a survey group right now that is being used by our department to kind of gauge where our morale is at, and some specific things that we can do to address that. So Chief French is aware and, you know, trying to address the problems from her level as best she can. But in my experience also, you know, it's us, you know, down here at the bottom, so to speak, you know, looking out for each other, where the most effective contacts and healing is made, so.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, Chief French at the city council meeting, she sounded like she was pleased with the license plate readers, but she had mentioned that for a city our size, we don't have enough. And I was wondering, do we have enough license plate readers in the Northern District, or?
So, license plate readers was the question, and I'm going on, so this is my computer that I can pull out of my car, and I've got the program up right now. These are called Flock cameras, and you guys can look that up. It's a commercial company, F-L-O-C-K, Flock, and they are contracted by us to provide license plate reader services with cameras around the city. They have been very helpful. Let's see, my cameras. So we have cameras that are put up by the city. We have cameras that are put up by some housing, different HOAs and things. Like right up here off Hillview, you see, if you turn on Hillview, it says these are monitored by, this area monitored by Flock cameras. And those feed into this database. And what it does is it reads every license plate that goes by on the public street. So then automatically it'll check and see through the California, it's called the stolen vehicle system, but it checks to see if there's a stolen vehicle or it's a felony vehicle. We had one last night. The car was, it hit on a, we call it, the way our terminology, it hit on a license plate that was coming off Carlson at Bayview, I believe. So one of my partners got behind it and found the car. We found the car, we stopped the car. It had been used in a sideshow in Oakland, and CHP had written a warrant for the seizure of this car, so we were able to take the car and identify the driver and things. So that's very effective. We coordinate a lot with the sheriff's office, CHP. They have other cameras up and down the freeways, but
Wow.
there is an issue, and it's, I know it's come to the front in with the city council discussions of privacy. Obviously, you're out in public. There's no expectation of privacy legally, but the city council wants to address obviously what its citizens want as far as morally and ethically. Do we want to do this? So this is kind of this just came online this month. We're going to see how it works, and it would be very helpful. Honestly, it's very helpful to law enforcement. We've used this system. I know our detectives have used this system because if you ask and you make a specific request, some agencies will release that data to other agencies. Ours doesn't. We don't share right now because the city council has asked us not to share for privacy reasons. But like, let's say a car that was used in a shooting here, we got a license plate, and Fairfield is one of the cities that shares data. So we find it in Fairfield because all we have to do is check the camera on the system, and it shows us. So we've used that to actually, make investigative leads and homicides and things.
Wow.
So it's a very useful tool. It's just, you got to balance it with the big brother aspect.
Yeah.
So that's beyond my pay grade. I might have opinions one way or the other, but it's a very useful tool overall.
Piggybacking on the cameras, one of the big issues from the city council, of course they're responding to the people that helped elect them, is that many of these companies would share the information with ICE.
Oh, of course.
That was the biggest issue.
Yes.
They didn't, immigration,
Yeah,
saying that,
the sanctuary city aspect.
yeah, we are looking at for these license plate readers only to find people to deport. That was the thinking. Didn't matter whether it's based in reality or not. But something else that Chief French pointed out about these cameras, that San Pablo, at only 25% the size of Richmond, 1/4 the size of Richmond, has 5 times more cameras
Wow.
than Richmond does.
I knew
We
they had
have
more. I
30.
didn't realize it was 5 times more.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have 30. They have more than 150.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we just started that in the last couple of months. They put it in, and so I think this is the baby steps program, and it has been very helpful. I can tell you from my experience, from what I've seen, so anecdotally, but yeah, I believe that Chief French is looking at it as a success, and she wants to continue.
She spoke very highly of it, and pointing out not just about vehicles have been used in crimes outside of Richmond, but also inside Richmond. Of course, carjackings.
Yes.
And even when pulling a car over that was suspect, and then finding weapons in the car.
Yep. Yeah, we've done all that just in the past month, probably basically due to this camera system that we wouldn't have been able to do without.
Great.
Well, I know the officer needs to get back out on patrol, so are there any other last questions, or? Well, thank you, Officer Church.
Well, thanks. Appreciate your art.
Hey, appreciate
Good to
it.
see you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you for the information.
Bye-bye.
So, yes, thank you, Officer Church. Next, we have Contra College. I believe our new president for Contra College, Ms. Kimberly Rogers, PhD. Okay. We will be seeing her at the RNCC meeting as well.
Good evening, everyone. Everyone is doing well. It's a little chilly in here, so I hope you're staying warm. So I'm just really kind of coming out to talk about the fact that, yes, we are very much still in the community. We are here. We have kind of renewed programming. We want to be sure that folks know what's happening at the college. We have a brand new science building. It opened last, I believe, April. If you haven't had the opportunity to visit, I'd love to invite you personally to come visit. It has a state-of-the-art planetarium. We have a renovated physical education building. I have some flyers here about our aquatic summer program this summer that I'll lead, that you can share. So what we really want you all to know is that we're here to serve the community, the entire community. So it doesn't matter if you're a 9th grade high school student, or if you're a 70-year-old senior, or I'm going to say mature citizen, who is retired and who is looking for something to do, or if you're interested in painting or drawing or writing. We have something available for everyone. And the one thing I want to point out is a lot of the programming and activities that we've started over the past year. So recognizing that our students sometimes struggle with food insecurity and housing insecurity, we've expanded our Common Market, which is our food and supplies for students who may be in need. We've added some parenting supplies to that. So those who have toddlers, who have infants, we've added diapers, we've added pull-ups. When we can find formula, we have applesauce, other little snacks for kids. We've also added a clothing closet. So when our students are going out for interviews, for jobs, or for internships, if they show that they have an interview, they can come get a professional outfit at no charge. So we really are relying on donations. If you have any business attire that you no longer need, or you no longer want or like, please drop it off. We'd be happy to share it with our students. We had a one-time basic needs housing grant last fall for any student who had an expected family contribution of $0. They got a $500 one-time grant to help defray some of those costs. Students have access to gas cards, they have access to free textbooks because we know how expensive it is to go to college. So there are lots of support in place for students. We also have some new learning communities at the college. NASA has a program, it's called I always get this wrong, National Community College Scholars Program. So anyone who may be interested in space or NASA, and you don't have to want to just go to space. NASA has writers, NASA has mathematicians, NASA has project managers. Anyone who has an interest in NASA who is a U.S. citizen, for security reasons you must be a U.S. citizen. But we are running a parallel program for those who aren't citizens so they can benefit from the same programming. We have a new math and science community, Quentin Moss, for those who are interested in transfer. And we've also opted into the Mathematics, Engineering, and Science Achievement Program. So with our new science building comes a lot of support and also programming attached to it. Let's see, what else are we doing in terms of just the college? We are really expanding our outreach for dual enrollment. In March, we held a technology fair where we invited 135 high school students. And before the day, they were kind of like, well, maybe CCC, maybe not. But after the event, they were so impressed with what they were able to see that the college could offer. And in April, we had about 300 high school students come for our Common Day. So we have our 6 guided pathways. I'll leave some information such as the STEM pathway, the business and applied technology pathway. We had our faculty do something called Light the Fire activities. So too bad the officer has just left. We had a kind of an interactive for our administration of justice program. We also had experiments for our scientists. Anyone who was interested in NASA got a chance to shoot off a rocket. So we had lots of available programming for students, and we had so many students sign up and say, you know, how can I take classes here, even while they were still in high school. And so we've seen increases in enrollment the past year, 15 months. We want to keep those increases going so that we're prepared for the funding formula that's coming out from the state. But we also want to be sure that we're serving our 40 and older population. We've expanded our evening schedule. We have Saturday classes. We have more online classes for those who prefer learning that way. And so if you are considering going back to school and you're not sure about your schedule or you need evening classes or something on Saturday, please come see us. There's a very good chance that we're going to be able to work something out for you. So we have the tutoring, we have the expanded class schedule, and we really are just here to serve. And for me, it's very important that we get the community back on campus. And while, you know, I always like to say community is not in the name of Contra Costa College, but you should be at the heart of the college and the work that we do. And we've also really been being sure that our programs align with the workforce needs of Richmond. So there's really a big need for healthcare, for IT, and we have programs in those areas. So if you're unsure of a career or you're considering a career change, please feel free to come see us. There's always going to be something that we can do for you. So, be it culinary, I know a lot of you know about our wonderful culinary program, Contra, the restaurant, early learning center, we can get you when you're babies, and we can take you all the way through your retirement. So, please feel free to come see us. Next month, one of the deans, Elvia Ornelas Garcia, is going to talk a little bit more, and she'll actually have a PowerPoint that really kind of goes through these different programs and things that you can expect. And the one last thing I want to add before I take any questions is that 99% of CCC students leave debt-free. So that's important to realize, that if you come to CCC, we're going to find a way to work with you in your financial situation to ensure that you can pay for your classes and also be successful.
Awesome.
Questions? Yes?
I have 3 questions for you, and I'm just going to ask them all at one time, and then you just weave them in. Since you mentioned the debt-free part, I'll start with that one. If a person, a student, let's say takes a full load, and I know things are variable on there, especially the cost of books, but between the cost for the per unit and books, what can a student expect it to cost them to attend Contra Costa College? Second question is, even if you're not on campus every day, we know you're doing a lot of building and have been. When do you expect it to be complete? At least this phase of it completed. And the last question has to do with essentially, what are you doing about parking, available parking spots, affordable parking spots, to keep the cars out in front of the homes in this area?
Okay. So I'll start with the first question. I would say for students who live at home, it's probably between $13,000 and $15,000 a year in terms of tuition and fees if you're staying at home. It's a little more if you're living in your own place because, of course, you have to pay rent. That does not include any financial aid you may get in terms of Pell Grants, any other type of grant aid, and we do have generous scholarship programs available. So it's a very affordable option, and we work to ensure that if you want to transfer to a four-year institution, that you can take as many of those credits with you or units with you as possible. So that's number one. Number two was about construction.
Is it ever going to end?
Construction never ends because we are always improving. So the pain of improvement is construction. And so there's a little bit of a lull right now. The science building is done. The kinesiology building, there's still a few minor touches they need to do on the inside. But we have some external projects we need to do with the roads. There's some things we're going to have to do with the roofs just to ensure that the roofs are sound, our HVAC systems are updated. So COVID brought a lot to everyone's attention in terms of building technology, and we want to be sure that we're doing the best that we can there. Progress requires construction.
I'm sorry, Ardo and I both come from the building trades, so we hope you continue building forever because our people get those jobs.
You made it sound like it was a bad thing. Okay. We will continue to build. It's just about the bonds and the different measures that pass. There's a lot of need for, just renovations in certain buildings. We're going to be 75 years old this upcoming year, so we have some fairly mature buildings. I won't say old because they're not too far off my age, so I'll just say mature buildings. So, and your third question was about parking.
Yes.
So, I've only been at the college about 2.5 years, but I hear that some of the parking lots were closed off for construction, and so we are working to be sure that those are already opening, because we do have a very strong on-campus presence, in-person presence right now, so that we see, especially on, I'm going to say Tuesdays and Thursdays, if you come in around 9:15, you can see that people are driving around looking for spots. So we do recognize that it's a problem. I didn't notice that people were parking in front of others' homes.
Oh,
They were.
Okay.
that's a big problem. On this end, I'm sorry for interrupting you. And I know part of it is because of what it costs to park.
So right now, I think we charge $45 or $48 a semester for our parking pass. We did not charge this past year, or it was a $0 charge because we still had some federal funding that we could use to defray student expenses from COVID.
Okay.
So if people were parking, it's not because they couldn't afford it. It was probably because they couldn't find a spot.
Some people walk.
So I would say that.
Yeah, I did want to say, Don did mention that we come from the heavy construction industry, and I did want to praise Contra Costa. At one time they had a premier welding program, and they also had an auto body shop for all the guys that want to learn how to paint and do auto body work. And a mechanic shop as well, so.
We still have our automotive program. We have a collision engineering program, a collision repair program. I actually just went to that graduation ceremony about 10 days ago. And those folks who are coming out of collision engineering are basically guaranteed jobs. They had paid internships, very highly sought after. So we're going to knock on wood and hope that really continues because the partnership is there, the need is there, and having come from out of state, seeing how people drive, we certainly continue to need collision repair. So.
You know, they come a long way for technology, you know that. And I've been interested in your technology program because I'm in the computer all the time. And there's some things I don't know.
In terms of basically how to use to make the most of using your computer?
I know how to use all that, but there's some other things like Zoom see, I like to film.
Yeah.
Mine is I do, you know, it's amazing how they're doing film on a little telephone. It's something how they're doing all that technology and making movies. It's so neat. Do you still have a movie program?
We have a media studies film program, so we do have one. And you're right, that little phone you carry around is basically a mini computer that's in your pocket.
I use a lot.
And so we do have, one of the things we talked to San Pablo Senior Center about, we still have to do some follow-up, is about offering maybe a class or so about better using technology, making sure that seniors are able to get the most out of using technology. So that's something we're still going to follow up on. But if you're interested in taking a class, we have them at the campus.
Because I had to learn from my church friends, because they're in this is our ministry. We go on television. I never done India before, till I'm doing it now. So I'm learning, I have to learn Zoom, I'm on Zoom all the time now.
Every day.
And that's where the kids go, on Zoom. And it's really neat to ministry to the children. It's fascinating.
Zoom really allowed us to continue our work during the pandemic, and I'm not sure what we would have done without it. And everyone was really flexible in terms of going from in-person to remote. So everyone was just, being able to just pick up at the drop of a hat. Zoom has been a godsend in many ways.
So I've been in this neighborhood since the 60s. I've watched Contra College grow and change, and I'm responsible for all the speed bumps on Shane, and those are primarily due to college students when the college was really packed. And it breaks my heart to see these parking lots empty. And so my question is, what is your strategy to bring students back to learning?
So we have a multi-tiered strategy, and I'd like to start off by saying our enrollment increase this spring was about 11% over last spring. So students are coming back, the recovery is back. This past fall was about 3 to 4% over the prior fall. So we are starting the recovery, and summer numbers look really quite excellent. We're probably 20% over where we were this time last year for summer. And so it really is a multi-pronged approach. One is to continue the outreach to high schools to ensure that students know that they have a premier college right here in their own backyard. So like I said, we had the technology day, we had comic day. We're doing lots of outreach to high school counselors and principals so they know what we offer and how it aligns maybe with the tech academies and other things that they're doing in the high schools. The second approach is really to get out into the neighborhood and say, look, this is what we can offer. If you're interested in changing careers, if you're not sure what you want to do next, come take a career assessment, talk to our career counselors. There are things that we can do to help you. We have classes, find what pathway is of interest to you, and we can help you get that career change. A third thing we're doing is looking at students who stopped out. Those are students who were enrolled but haven't been enrolled for a few years now, or a few semesters. And we're really making a concerted effort this summer to reach out to men who have, I'm going to say, I think it's 30 units, but who haven't completed. Because we see that there's kind of a gender imbalance or a gender shift in higher education in general, where there are more women than men. And we know that we need to be sure that we're educating everyone in the community. And really the fourth part of this multi-tiered approach is to ensure that the stakeholders, the employers know that we are educating, we have the programs necessary for them when it comes to hiring. So if there's a shortage of healthcare workers, nurses, medical assistants, we have those programs. So partner with us so we know exactly what it is you're looking for, so that we can use you potentially as a clinical site, so that you can help train the future nurses or future medical assistants and EMTs. So we're really going out into the community so the community knows what it is we're doing and what we offer.
I think it'd be great if you can get together with the building trades if you already have it and find out what their expectations are for apprentices, because it's been bad for years, decades even. When kids come out of school, they can't read a tape measure, can't break fractions in half. Some of them can't even communicate.
Math is particularly challenging.
Right.
Particularly. And we do have a forklift operator warehouse program that's been dormant that we would like to get kind of up and going again, because we know that those are good jobs here as well.
Great. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Oh.
Good.
Well, first of all, my daughter went to the ELC when she was very young, and I have to say it was by far and away the most affordable, enriching child care program that we could find in the area. So I'm very grateful for that, and I'm glad to hear that they're still operating. And secondly, I'm curious about the new healthcare facility, or what did you?
Science building.
Yes. No, the aquatics program and the gym facilities, the track. I know that there was a lot of construction there for a while, but I thought I saw on the website somewhere that if you're a community member, there are ways that you can access it without actually taking classes, or?
There are, especially during the summer. You can buy a pass. I think it's, don't quote me on this, it may be $2 a day or $3 a day that you can come in and use the center, use the pool. As I said, I'll leave some of these so you can talk about, so you can read about the actual program this summer, but we encourage that. And one thing we did starting for the spring 2023 semester is we made the fitness center free for all students and employees, because we know that mental health is an important part of not just studying and working, but just life in general. And we know that people who do yoga and go to the gym tend to have a more robust mental health and physical health, so we wanted to be sure that they had access to that. And so we want to be able to extend that to the community as well. So I'll leave some flyers on our website. You'll find more information about how to access the gym.
Great. And I'm sorry, do you know if there's like an age limit? Like my daughter that went to ELC is now 9 and is very athletic, and she's doing softball, so it would be great to have access to some of those facilities for her.
It says public recreational swimming, all ages.
Great.
So she would have access.
Great, thank you.
This is more a comment on here. I do a lot of work with our local school board or school district as well. And I just want to point out, not only to you, but the people watching the video at home, that the partnership that the community college has with Middle College High School is just phenomenal. I've seen just so many of our students, they walk across the stage one day to get their their high school diploma. They walk across a different day to get their AA degree. They're able to start at highly selective universities as a junior. That's 2 years that they don't have to pay the top dollars. Even Cal at $37,000 a year. I mean, that's more than $75,000 that they've been able to save. And I even saw that a couple of years ago, one of my Ivy League Connection students that was part of the middle college was the student trustee for the entire community college district.
We just had it. We just graduated a student trustee from CCC last week, Supreet Kaur. She is a middle college high school student.
Yeah.
So she actually got her AA before she got her high school diploma. Wow. So she's definitely underachieving, isn't she? Wow. She's going to USC.
Oh, that's too bad. Go Bears.
I am from the East Coast, so I have no allegiance. But yes, so we're still doing those wonderful things. The chair of our foundation board is actually a middle college alum. So, we see them come back and continue to participate in the life of the college and give back. So it is a great partnership.
Do you have sign language? Are you teaching it?
Not yet. We hope to have that as part of our non-credit division early next year.
Oh, it's beautiful, but I can't do it anymore because my fingers now are quiet. I used to do it. I was good. I can read it, but I can't. I can do it, but I couldn't read it.
It's definitely a need in the community for sure.
Yeah.
So as a follow-up to that, you said it was a non-credit. Okay. There are four-year universities that give degrees in American Sign Language. So why are we doing it no credit?
So we don't have it yet.
Yes, but that's what you're
So
planning.
the goal would be to start as a non-credit and then transition into a credit-based course, to give it time to go through the curriculum and instruction committee. I know the DBC has it, and it is a credit-based course, so to give us time to work through that process.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Well, thank you. Greatly appreciated, and look forward to these flyers, and
Yes, and I'll leave some. That's
I appreciate it. Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Collins. And I want to thank everybody for coming. I know it's a short meeting, but a lot of information. So once again, we look forward to seeing you at the next meeting. And we do have a dumpster day coming up. There will be a postcard sent to everybody in this area or in this neighborhood to attend. So thank you, everybody, for coming, and see you next time. Bye-bye.